Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Shorban Sengupta and the topic of today's discussion is binomial nomenclature. In our previous video on the merits and demerits of the two kingdom classification, we discussed that binomial nomenclature was amongst the merits of the two kingdom classification. That the two kingdom classification introduced some core Linnaean concepts including binomial nomenclature. So what is this binomial nomenclature? We'll discuss exactly that today. So binomial nomenclature is the formal two-part scientific naming system for living organisms that was initiated by Gaspard Bauhin and later developed and popularized by Carolus Linnaeus. It uses a genus name that starts with a capitalized letter and a specific epithet which starts with a lowercase letter and is written in italics. For example, Homo sapiens for humans. Note that in this name Homo sapiens, the generic name Homo starts with a capital letter, whereas the specific name sapiens starts with a small letter to provide a unique and this provides a unique and universal name, avoiding confusion from common names. Now, as we know, common names vary from region to region, from language to language, etc. But scientific name for one species, there can be only one scientific name. This system ensures a clarity in biological classification, with the first part, that is genus, being broader, and the second, that is the species, identifying the exact species. So what are the key components? The first word should always start with a capitalized letter. For example, Panthera with a capital P for tigers. Whereas a specific epithet which mentions a species, the second word should always be lowercase. That is tigris for tigers. The rules of writing include three basic rules. Firstly, the entire two-part name should be in italics when typed, but if handwritten, they must be underlined, because a lot of people write in italics all the time. So there is no point in considering whether it should be in italics or not. Whether it's in italics or not, if it's handwritten, it should always be underlined. Moreover, the underlining of the genus and the species should be separate. And third point is the capitalization. That is, only the genus name starts with a capital letter. So if we take a look at the examples, for example, the scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. Note that I have written both Mangifera and indica in italics with the genus name being Mangifera and the specific name being indica. Also note that in Mangifera, M is capital. That is, the genus always starts with a capital letter. Whereas in case of the specific epithet, the species, indica starts with a small I. Now, tiger, lion, and leopard, they all belong to the same genus, Panthera. But the species is different. For example, the scientific name of tiger is Panthera tigris, with the genus name being Panthera and the species name being tigris. That of lion is also Panthera because they belong to the same genus. But the species name is different. That is Leo. Similarly, for leopard, it's Panthera pardus. The genus name is the same once again, Panthera, but the species name is different, the pardus. Now, what if there are variations within a species? For example, cabbage and cauliflower belong to the same species, Brassica oleracea, with the scientific name of cabbage being Brassica oleracea var capitata and that of cauliflower being Brassica oleracea var botrytis. Here, as you can see, in both the cases, the scientific genus and species name are same, Brassica oleracea. But because there are different varieties of the same species, we have VAR, that is var. Var capitata for cabbage and botrytis for cauliflower. Now, if we come to the importance, firstly, there is the universality. That is, a single scientific name is used globally, eliminating confusion from local names. For example, one species can be called by different names in various different regions. Even in different regions, in different languages, they may be called differently. But they all have but a single species can have only one scientific name which is universal, that is applicable everywhere. If we consider the classification, the groups closely related species together under the same genus showing evolutionary relationships. For example, we saw in case of lion, tiger and leopard, they were all placed under the same genus. Panthera leo, Panthera tigris and Panthera pardus. They are closely related and therefore placed under the same genus. But the species are different, so they have different specific names. Now, there are several bodies that govern the scientific names of different groups of organisms to ensure maximum universality and continuity. For example, there is an International Code of Nomenclature for Algae, Fungi and Plants, ICN-AFP, or commonly called ICN, previously known as ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, because all these groups were previously placed under plants. Now this body governs the naming of plants, fungi and algae. Then there is the ICZN, the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, which establishes the rules for naming animals. And then there's the International Code of Nomenclature for Prokaryotes, which regulates the names of bacteria and archaea, as well as those of cyanobacteria and myxobacteria or actinobacteria, which were formerly classified as actinomycetes or cyanophyta. Then there is the International Code of Nomenclature for Cultivated Plants, ICN-NCP, which provides the rules for naming plant cultivars that have been deliberately altered by humans. Then there is the International Code of Virus Classification and Nomenclature, ICVCN, which governs the classification and naming of viruses. There is the Hugo Gene Nomenclature Committee, HGNC, which approves unique symbols and names for human genes. Next we come to author citation. Author citation in plant taxonomy identifies the person who validly published a scientific name following rules in the International Code of Nomenclature for Algae, Fungi and Plants, or ICN for or ICBN or ICZN or other groups. For example, in case of two plants, it is appended to the name Solanum nigrum L. L for Linnaeus, who described this plant and identified it and gave it this scientific name Solanum nigrum. Another example is Mangifera indica L, again for L for Linnaeus, who identified this plant and described it. To ensure clarity, verification and accuracy, especially for taxonomic discussions between names, when a species is moved to a new genus, the original author's name is put in parenthesis, like Cerasus cornutus Wall within brackets, then R and P, showing that Wallich first named it, but it was validly published by Roxwell and Prunus. Another aspect is synonyms. Now, earlier I previously mentioned that one organism can have only one valid scientific name. But sometimes it occurs that one organism can be simultaneously described by two different authors, as the scientific literature is a very vast field. So two authors can simultaneously describe the same organism unknowingly but separately. Or it might occur that an organism was first classified as X and then reclassified as Y. In such case, synonyms come into being. In taxonomy, the term synonym is crucial for managing the history and universality of scientific names for organisms. Only one name is considered correct or valid for a species at any given time, according to the rules of the relevant International Code of Nomenclature. All other names that apply to the same taxon are considered synonyms. So what is the purpose of this? The main use of listing synonyms in scientific literature, often indicated by syn to avoid confusion, ensure that all relevant research associated with a historical name can be linked to the current one and document changes in taxonomic understanding. For example, the Norway spruce was first named Pinus abies by Linnaeus. The name is now a synonym of the currently accepted name Picea abies. Hence it is written as Picea abies syn Pinus abies. I repeat, Picea abies syn Pinus abies. Thank you. That's all regarding binomial nomenclature. In our next video, we will start with the 5-kingdom classification, which is proposed by R.H. Whitaker and is a far more advanced system of classification than the 2-kingdom classification we have thus discussed. Thank you. That's all.